Hello and welcome to Sunrise Perspectives by Teresa. I'm so glad and thankful to have you joining me today. Today we're going to talk about planting seeds. So let me ask you, have you ever thought about what happens to a seed before it blooms? A seed spends time buried beneath the dirt, in darkness, in isolation. And yet, even there, something important is happening. Before it ever reaches the sunlight, the seed first has to find its direction. Then slowly it begins to crack open. It pushes its way through the darkness before it ever reaches the light. And eventually, under the right conditions, it blooms. I think there are seasons in our lives that feel very much the same. Times when we need to step away from the noise, times of isolation, reflection, stillness, moments where we quietly search for our true north. Sometimes growth doesn't look impressive from the outside. Sometimes growth looks like tiny shifts, small daily choices, quiet healing that nobody else can see yet. But beneath the surface, roots are forming. Strength is forming. Stability is forming. There's a quote often attributed to St. Francis de Sales: "Bloom where you're planted." I love that, because sometimes we think growth only comes from changing everything about our lives. We think we always need to do something bigger, grander, or more impressive. But sometimes growth is simply learning to see our current season differently. Sometimes blooming begins with gratitude. Sometimes it begins with patience. And sometimes it begins with simply staying rooted where we are quietly becoming who we are meant to be. Recently, I visited the Museum of Natural Science. It was in Chicago. And one of the exhibits especially stayed with me. We walked through a section designed to make us feel as though we were shrinking.
Stage 2. Shrinking is almost complete.
Then suddenly, we entered a room that showed us what the underground world looks like from the perspective of a seed. Honestly, it was incredible. It reminded me that there's an entire world of growth happening beneath the surface, and it's something we can never see. Roots that are stretched deep into the earth, tiny little organisms working together, quiet processes creating life, nourishment, and stability. A tiny little seed can eventually grow into something strong enough with big enough roots to withstand storms. It made me think about our own lives. Sometimes we feel small. Sometimes we feel insignificant. Sometimes we wonder whether anything we are doing even matters. But even the smallest act of kindness, a smile, an encouraging word, can plant seeds we may never fully witness growing. Just because we cannot see the growth happening doesn't mean it's not. Because growth takes time. It takes consistency. It takes the right environment, patience. And when we plant a seed, we don't keep digging it up every day to check whether it's growing. We trust the process. We give it water. We give it nourishment. We give it sunlight and care. And we trust that the roots are developing beneath that surface. Maybe we need to treat ourselves with that same kind of patience. Study yourself. Learn what helps you grow. Learn what brings you peace, purpose, and strength. Maybe you need solitude for a season. Maybe you need community. Maybe you need to pivot altogether and try something new. Or maybe You simply need to bloom where you're planted. But whatever season you're in, trust this. Even beneath the surface, even in the darkness, growth is still happening. And you are stronger and more resilient than you know. Thank you for watching. It was a blessing to have you here. Bye.